Hello, happy Sabbath to all. Right now, we'll be talking about Jesus and my purpose. Do you know your purpose in life? Have you answered the question, why am I here? Well, I have a class, God in Human Life, and I asked them the four fundamental life questions, and this is one of those. Why am I here? That means I need to ask myself, what is my purpose in life? So we'll talk about that right now. But Shelly Prevost, a co-founder and CEO of Torch, says about or talk about five reasons why most people never discover their purpose. It can happen, right? That a person will come to an end of his life, but then he never realized or he never discovered his purpose. And that's sad, right? So, what are some of the possible reasons why people don't discover their purpose? Number one, you live from the outside in, not the inside out. What does that mean? When we are a child, we often have the guidance of the people around us, our parents, our grandparents, and then they're telling us a lot of things that maybe in the future it will be like this. Parang ako when, to my kids, just like my firstborn, her name is Rafaela, and Rafa means, or Raphael means, God is my healer. So it seems like even she's very young, we want her to be a doctor someday, but we don't know if that will happen. But then sometimes we keep on listening to other people, and we thought, that's it. That's my purpose. That's what I want. Something like that. When I was young, grade three, I always look up to my eldest brother, and then he loves to nursing, and he is good at it. So when I was grade three, I also thought, oh, I also would do nursing, and then I'll take summa cum laude. I'll make sure I'll be a summa cum laude. So it's because I look up to a person that sometimes I want to live the life that he lived, something like that. So you live from the outside in, not the inside out. You look for a career, number two, before you listen for a calling. Is that happening? That sometimes, oh, this career would make me rich. Yeah, I thought about that when I'm in grade three. This nursing career would make me rich, so I just rather do this. But then I didn't listen to my calling until I'm fourth year high school that I realized, oh, that's not for me. My calling is to be a minister of the gospel. I became a pastor and now I'm a pastor. So listen for that calling, to that calling. Another reason is that you hate silence. Maybe because you're an action man and you also keep on speaking or doing things rather than listening. So it's very important to have or to experience silence, listen, and try to know and see deep down what's your purpose. Number four, you don't like the dark side of yourself. All of us have weaknesses, right? I, for one, I realized during elementary that one of my weakness is social studies. So what I did is I tried my best to really give more time to it, reading the book on social studies, and to the point of memorizing everything from the book. And what happened is, when I'm grade six already, I became the representative for the quiz bee in social studies. And I got first place for that. I can't imagine my weakness became my strength. So if you don't like the dark side of yourself, you won't know what part of me should I grow. What part of me should I develop more or to help myself to, yeah, get better. So that's one reason why most people don't discover their purpose. Next is 5, you devalue the unconscious mind. Sometimes you don't value your emotion, your intuition, your impulses, your sensitivity. You also need that. You also need those things to discover what's your purpose. For example, what do you love the most doing? When are you happy? You're doing this and then you're very happy doing this. And it's near to discovering your purpose. So sometimes you need to listen to that. Be sensitive, listen to your emotion. Yeah, the unconscious mind. So those are just some of the things that we can learn from Shirley Prevost. Now, how to discover your purpose in life. I already said some, but then let's dig down to the real thing, how to discover your purpose in life. If you would look at this picture, this is a dental chair. So the easiest way to discover the purpose of an invention like this is to ask the creator of it. Is that right? So, how to discover your purpose in life? Number one, ask your creator, and that is God. Or number two, check the manual, which is the Bible, right? So, just for example, this equipment, you need to check the manual, you need to read the manual to know the purpose and how to care for it. So, two things, ask your creator and check the manual or the Bible, and that's what we will do right now. So what does God say? Genesis 1:26 to 27 says, Then God said, Let us make mankind in our image. Yeah, that is us. In our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. What does that mean? He created us in his image. So if you would look at God, you see his image is so awesome, amazing, so holy. You will be in awe when you look at God. And now we are his likeness. He created us into that likeness. And so in the same way, ourselves are in when we look ourselves, we must be in awe, we must be amazed, we must be holy. But to make it clear, let's move forward. Look at this verses, especially Psalm 8, 5 to 6. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. That's how we eat. That's how we are. We are crowned with glory and honor when God created us. And then you made them rulers over the works of your hands. You put everything under their feet. And that's not it. Psalm 19 verse 1 says, The heaven declares the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. This means his creation, us, everything in nature, declare his glory. That is our purpose. To declare his glory. Whenever God would look at us and he would look at us into his likeness, oh, that's his glory. We are the uh, gl- crowning glory of the creation of God. That is so amazing, right? So again, our purpose, let's look at this one, Revelation 14 verse 7. If you do not know, this is one of, or the first message of the first angel and the three angels' messages. He said in a loud voice, Fear God and give him glory. Because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. That is our purpose. You fear your creator God and then give him glory. What does it mean by fear? You revere him, you give reverence, respect to him, you honor him. and then worship Him. Why? Because He is worthy of our worship, because He is our Creator, God. And so that is our purpose. But then what happened? Oh, sorry. Let's read this 1 Corinthians 10:31. That's why Paul said, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. That's very clear. And we all have heard this one, right? Whatever we do it all for the glory of God. So the question is, are we glorifying God? Are we fulfilling God's purpose in our lives, which is to glorify Him? Well, actually, this is what happened. There is a sin problem. Our first parents' fall into sin was a forfeiture of God's glory. Remember Romans 3:23, it says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Well, actually, honestly, we fall short of the glory of God. When He created us, we are full of His glory. But then when we fall into sin, that glory is diminishing. It seems like it's forfeited. That's why it's called forfeiture. What else? It was a threefold forfeiture. Number one, it was the loss of our ability to reflect God's glory. Being in His likeness means reflecting, right? So we lost that one, the ability to reflect His glory because of sin. And number two, the loss of our spiritual sight of God's glory, or spiritual blindness, we can say. Sometimes we cannot see the glory of God. And we also lost, because of sin, that face-to-face encounter with God. And so right now we cannot see Him face-to-face, right? We cannot behold even that magnificent glory of Him. Number three, and the loss of our passion to see that glory and live for God's glory. That means idolatry instead of the worship of God. This is very common, right? This is happening in our lives, right? We sometimes lost that passion to always see or seek God's glory and to live for His glory. That's very sad. It's the reason why sometimes we don't know what our purpose is, and we cannot do our purpose, which is glorifying God, because of the sin problem. But then don't worry, there's Jesus. And what is the role of Jesus? 2 Corinthians 4:6 says, for God, who said, let light shine out of darkness. It's just like the creation also, no? Made His light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Jesus. When did that kind of light came into your life? I believe when that light came into your life, you see Jesus' face. You encounter Jesus. Because that is God's glory being displayed in Jesus, in the face of Jesus Christ. We may have sinned, we may have lost that glory, reflection of glory of God, but then there is Jesus. He is the ultimate display of God's glory here on earth. And by looking at Him, by letting Him come into us, into our lives, then we can be able to glorify God. So let's continue on. How can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose in our lives? 2 Corinthians 3:18 says in the same uh, chapter or book, but we all with unveiled face, beholding as in a mirror the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of the Lord. This is so amazing. We are beholding in a mirror the glory of the Lord, and that is, we're looking at Jesus. And as we look at Jesus, we are being transformed into the same image Finally, the restoration of that lost image of God. And that is from glory to glory, little by little, just as by the Spirit of the Lord, through the working of the Holy Spirit in us. This is so beautiful. How can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose in our lives? Number one is behold Jesus' face. Every day, behold Him. You know what? The first time I read the book, The Desire of Ages, I read it every day, one chapter a day. I can't help but to fall in love with Jesus, to get to know Him, to really have that kind of intimacy and closeness with Him because I'm knowing Him. So try to really behold Jesus' face. You read The Desire of Ages, you read His words. Always look into uh, who is Jesus in this chapter? Who is Jesus in this story from the Bible? And then, little by little, you will be transformed into His image from glory to glory. And as we are being sanctified, this is called sanctification, we are glorifying God. We are returning to that reflection of the glory of God. We are glorifying God when we are being changed little by little by beholding Jesus' face. And that is beautiful because that boils down to our character, which is eternal. That character that we will bring in heaven. You know why you will uh, recognize your friends? Because you know his or her character. Because it's still the same when he or she gets to heaven. That's what we can bring there. This character being changed from glory to glory by beholding Jesus' face. So that is very important. How can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose in our lives? Behold Jesus' face. Number two, John 15 verse 8 says, oh, this is also my topic before. By this my Father is glorified. This is it. Clearly, He is glorified that you bear much fruit. So you will be my disciples. How can we glorify God? If we bear much fruit. Matthew 5:16 says, in the same way, let your light shine before others. Now this is the light coming from Jesus. Isn't this amazing? It's connected to our first one, behold Jesus Christ. Let your light shine before others that they may see your good works or good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So that bear much fruit, that's also your good deeds. And as they see those good deeds, they will glorify God. So number two, how can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose in our lives? Bear fruit. So how would you know your purpose? As for me, where is it that I'm bearing much fruit? When I was in high school, 40 high school, we take NMAT ba yun? No, it's an exam that you would know what career is possible for you, something like that. And one thing that came up is about counseling, service, or it's yeah, that's the term, service. And so with that coming out of that exam, and then I look into my life in the past. Oh yes, my classmates would often come to me for advices, for counseling, and I'm very willing to listen to them and to share something to them that might help them. And then service, yeah, that's right. In the past, I also love serving other people, especially in church, and I even join mission trips like that. So I love serving. And with these things that is in me, that God put in me, I was able to bless other people. And these are the good deeds that they can see in me. And through these good deeds, they can glorify the Father. So, what are those things? What are those things that you are good at and that you are blessing other people while you're doing it? And that means you're bearing fruit. As they see your good deeds, as they see your service to God, they will glorify your Father in heaven. And that is only if you found the light, you know. And then if you have the light, then you can be a light to other people. And that is coming from Jesus, that light coming from Jesus. So number 2, how can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose? Bear fruit. Last but not the least, how can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose in our lives? Psalm 29, 1-2 says, Ascribe to the Lord, O sons of the mighty, ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due to his name. Worship the Lord in holy array. Psalm 86:12, I will give thanks to you, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and will glorify your name forever. When we worship God, we glorify him. When we praise him, when we lift his name on high, when we give thanks to him, we glorify his name. Are we worshiping him every day? Is our life a worship to him? Romans 12 verse 1 says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service or worship. This is it. Our everything, our whole being. Are we worshiping God with all our being, with all of us? That's how we worship. We give everything to him. We offer our service to him. We offer our all being to him. That is true worship. So I hope that as you seek God's purpose in your life, you would also make sure that, hey, this is my purpose. I worship him by adhering to this calling he had given me, by giving him my all. And yes, I'm fulfilling my purpose. So how can we glorify God and fulfill God's purpose in our lives? In summary, number 1, to behold Jesus' face. Always look into Jesus, know Jesus, and be sanctified by Jesus, by being changed from glory to glory. You are fulfilling your purpose if you're doing that. Number 2, bear fruit. Be a blessing to other people. Do good deeds with the talents, with the spiritual gifts that God has given you. So try to know your spiritual gifts, discover them, and use them for God's glory to serve other people. And number 3, worship him. When we worship him, especially with all our being, by completely surrendering to him and serving him, and then we're fulfilling God's purpose in our lives. I hope it's all clear to you what's your purpose now in your life. Try to take time, contemplate, and give time to really get deeper to God's purpose in your life. But in all, it is to glorify him. So God bless you as you glorify him in your life.